We're on Daf Tzadi Amud Beis, and we're up to Toshma. So you'll see a Tosfos Dibur Maskil Ligmar, and you drop below that about 5 lines, and we're up to Toshma. No, that we actually, I apologize, that we did already on Thursday. And we actually started Tzadi Aleph, the next And we got up to Bas Kohen Min Truma. That's about 5 lines down from the top. Sorry. So let's go over the Mishnah. We know that a Bas Kohen is allowed to eat Truma. However, in this particular case of a woman whose husband went off and an aide, one witness testified that he died, she went ahead and she got married to another husband. Let's assume that that husband is a Zar. He's not a Kohen. As long as she's married to the Zar, she's not going to eat Truma. But as it turns out, her first husband, the Kohen, was alive. And he comes back, I'm alive. And she's guilty of relying on the testimony of one single witness and marrying another man. We're going to now penalize her. And all of this knas of penalty is in order to upfront guarantee that she would have done her research before she got married. She has to realize the repercussions down the line. And one of them is that she will not be able to eat Truma. Now, on a Doraisa level, she's a Bas Kohen. The Torah allows it. The Rabbanan are now coming to institute a knas, a penalty, and they're saying she can't eat Truma. Where do we have such a thing? That a Bas Kohen is enjoined from eating Truma. So the Gemara says, Afilu Truma midrabbanan. And now I want to read to you a note here. In the Masechet, he writes that if she was a Bas Levi, we've already discussed, and the Mishnah has established, that as a result of her knas, she can't eat maser. Now, on a Doraisa level, there's no reason why she can't eat maser. In fact, maser is chulin. She doesn't even have to be a Bas Levi to eat maser. But we institute a knas and we penalize her. She can't eat maser. Kolshkin, shekansu Bas Kohen shetiposel min truma. He turns over the sugya inside out. That if we're talking about Truma Doraisa, which is the 5 species of grains, and according to the Rambam, Tirosh v'Yitzar, meaning olives and grapes as well, that's Truma Doraisa. So just like we had the case of a woman who's a Bas Levi, she can no longer eat maser because of this knas. So to a Bas Kohen can certainly no longer eat Truma because of the knas. And the Gemara therefore wants to know, why did the Mishnah, after having established that she can no longer eat maser, go ahead and tell me she can no longer eat Truma? It's Muvan Meila. Gemara says that the Mishnah comes to Mechadesh that afilu Truma d'Rabbanan. The Rabbanan are going to institute a knas even vis-a-vis Truma d'Rabbanan. That's the sheet of Rashi. Now he quotes the Rashba. Hare Truma d'Oraisa nifselis min Torah. Why did the Gemara think that for sure, it goes without saying, that she can no longer eat Truma, even though she's a Bas Kohen? Not the way Rashi said it because of a Kal Vachomer from Maser, in the case of Bas Levi, but rather because she has the status of a Zona. She's a married woman who lived with another man. she can no longer eat truma under doraisa. She would be truma doraisa, and if seles min Torah, and the Torah says that if a woman has a relationship with an ish zar, is nivel apostle min truma. And it's really interesting because forget about knas. Knas is a penalty for amazing. In the case of nivel apostle, if a woman is married to a Kohen, this is the tragedy of Allah. If she gets raped by a apostle, she's no longer allowed to eat truma, amongst other dinim as well. And that's even in a case where she's not guilty of any crime. She was a victim of rape. How much more so in a case where she should have checked out to figure out if her husband's really dead or maybe still alive, and then she got married to another man. She's psula min kahuna. I would love to know why Rashi didn't accept the Rashba. It seems like such a simple answer to a question. Rashi saw it as such a complicated question that Gemara had assumed b'pshitos without a chidush that she's psula min hakuna. And Rashi says because of a kamachov from Masa. Why does Rashi feel compelled to introduce it? This is a classic case of nivel apostle.
If I'm correct to understand, in this scenario, she can neither stay with the second husband nor with her original husband.
Right.
So why can't she go back to her father's house and be Kohen as a Kohen?
That's part of this knas. So the question is this a knas derabanan or a din doraisa? The Rashba says this is a din doraisa. She can never go back to her husband, to her father's house because she's the zona. She's already nifsala min hakuna. She's a married woman who had a relationship with an adulterous relationship.
No, the daughter of her
Doesn't
father's.
matter. Torah says that nivel apostle, she's completely apostle min hakuna, and she can't eat truma. That's a doraisa halach. I don't know why Rashi is inhibited to invoke that halach. Instead, Rashi stretches his arm out to a kal vachomer from Maser. But in the case of Maser, it's really nothing more than a knas d'Rabbanan. But in the case of truma, it's a din doraisa. I don't know why Rashi couldn't explain the Mishnah the way the Rashi is. The Mishnah continues and says, "Ein yorshin shel zeh, v'yorshav shel zeh, yorshin ksubas." That one of the various halachas of knas in the penalty to this woman is that she loses her ksuba, not only from the second husband because she was never really married to the second husband, but even from her first husband who's alive and well, she forfeits her ksuba. That's a punishment for the fact that she didn't do her due diligence to determine that Achen, her husband is dead. Now, if the ksuba is batel and there's no rights to ksuba, what does the Mishnah mean to say that her yarshin did not inherit her ksuba? So let's say, for example, in a classic case where a woman was married and her husband writes her a ksuba, and then he dies, she now collects her ksuba from the yarshin. Or if she dies, her yarshin collect her ksuba from the Baal. But in this case, it goes without saying that the yarshin cannot inherit the ksuba because there is no ksuba. We've already nullified the ksuba. So the Gemara immediately asks, "Ksuba maya vidita." What are you telling me that there's no yarshin, there's no Yerusha on a ksuba? It's a non-existent entity. Certainly, there's no Yerusha on a non-existent entity. Rav Papa says that the Mishnah should not be interpreted in terms of the ksuba that she received from her husband when he was alive, or she could collect after he divorces her or dies, but rather the ksubas banin dichrin. This is a new takana of ksuba called banin dichrin. If you take a look at Rashi, Isnan b'ksuba, it's about 10 lines down from the top. Ksubas banin dichrin, which means male sons. Dahavyin lechi midoi, inun yarsin kesef ksubasech, yeser al cholkeim, di'im achoim. So now what happens is the Rabbanim made a takana called ksubas bonim dichrin, in which case a man marries a woman and he may have certain funds that are earmarked for other relatives of his, or maybe has children from a previous marriage. And he agrees within the framework of the ksuba that the children that they have together will inherit a larger portion than normal. We'll have to see exactly why the Chacham made this time. So, banin dichri di'eheven lichi binoi, the male sons that you will have from me, inun yars kesef ksubasech, they will inherit the money of your ksuba. Yeser al chulkeim de'imachem, even more than what would have been designated for other relatives. And v'yemesa b'chayav, if she dies first, v'nasa shniya, and he remarries v'yoldalo umesu, b'nei shniya afilu heinekevos notlin ksubas iman kechov gomu sharenis almala me'aviyah ubnei rishona im yesh scharim notlim ksubas iman afal gav de mesa b'chayim. In other words, the Rabbanim made a special takana that even if she dies before he does, which would mean that the ksuba should go over to his relatives in terms of Yerusha, nevertheless, there's an absolute guarantee by virtue of this takana bonim zichrim that her ksuba will be collected by her yarsh. And this is antithetical to the mechanics of ksuba, because when she dies first, that's it, the ksuba is gone. But they made a special takana of banim zichrin that even though she died first, they will inherit her ksuba. I'll read it to you in the summary here of the Masechet Tiknu Chachamim shegam kshemesa isha bechaye bala, even though she died first, sheminadin ein la ksuba. So whatever is included in the ksuba is completely lost the moment she dies. But mikol the Rabbanim made a separate takana that if and when her husband will die, she died first, then her husband second. Mekablim baneha b'Yerushasam mamon keshir ksubas. They will inherit from his property the equivalent to the ksuba. Again, they collect Yerusha as well, but in addition to Yerusha, they'll collect from the estate the value of the ksuba. Even though, again, he may have relatives from another marriage and so forth and so on, and they want to inherit his estate, but we're going to draw off money from the estate for the banim zichrim. Now, once the Rabbanim made a separate takana, we can always raise the question in the case of a woman who got remarried without two witnesses, she only had one witness. Although we've already established that she forfeits her ksuba, we're not sure about banim zichrim. I mean, there's no reason to penalize them. They didn't do anything wrong. So from her first husband, she has male children. They have rights to their father's estate by virtue of this takana of ksubas banim dichrim. Now that she lost her ksuba, what's the status with banim zichrim? She married another man, and there was only one witness. The penalty is going to reverberate even as far as her sons are concerned. V'lo yizku b'ksubas banim dichrim. They will inherit their father when he dies, but only according to the regular rules that govern inheritance. So he got remarried, let's say, after his first wife, their mother died, and now he has sons from a second marriage. the sons from the first marriage will inherit equally with the estate, together with the sons from the second marriage. Normally, if not for the knas, the banim dichud would inherit the value of the ksuba. That would be shaved off from the top, and then the balance would be divvied up as an estate amongst the brothers from first and second marriage. But now, because of this penalty, in which she loses her ksuba, the Mishnah establishes that even ksuba's banim dichud is batel, it's completely void, and her children from this marriage, from the first marriage, will not inherit anything more than the equal portion together with the brothers from a second marriage. So the Gemara says, Pshita, after all, if she lost her ksuba, then all the laws of ksuba go down the tubes, including the ksuba banim dichud, which is again an indication that the ksuba itself will be inherited by her sons from that marriage. But she has no ksuba. I would have thought. Although the Rabbanan instituted this knas, that's only as far as she is concerned. She's the guilty one. And therefore she loses her rights to collect the ksuba. But why should her children, her sons in this case, why should they forfeit the ksubas banim dichud? They didn't do anything wrong. Mamash Malon, the Mishnah wants to tell us that the knas of the Rabbanan that establishes she has no rights to the ksuba, that's going to include and encompass even the ksuba banim dichud. Not because they're guilty and they're going to be financially penalized as a result of their negligence. They weren't guilty or negligent, she was. But once the Rabbanan established the knas on the ksuba, that ksuba encompasses within it even ksubas banim dichud. Even though, again, as we said before, ksubas banim dichud goes beyond the laws of ksuba. Even if she died first, where she has no rights to ksuba, her yarshim don't have rights anymore. But the banim dichud will have rights to ksuba by virtue of a separate ksuba. That ksuba as well is part of a matrix, a constellation which is called ksuba. And if she loses the ksuba, then even the ksuba's banim dichud is gone. It's invalid, not because of a penalty, not that we're penalizing the children that she has from her first marriage, but rather because of this halacha of ksuba. Once the ksuba is batel, then the ksuba's banim dichud is also batel. He points out here in the footnote, Shenasa shtei nashim, im nasa rak isha achas ein b'zem shum nafkamina. If there are no other brothers from a second marriage, then this whole discussion is completely moot, because they certainly inherit their father. That's not part of this knas. And they get the, whatever chelik is coming to them, depending on how many brothers there are. But if he was married to a second wife and he had children from the second marriage, then the issue is, do we divide up all the estate equally or no? We have to shave off from the top the value of the ksuba from the rishon, from the first marriage. V'tama takvona. Why did they make such a takvona? Kedei sheyikros adam v'yitein lebito kibno. So we came in sheyodea adam shebnei bnosa yikavlu es kol anidunya sheyitein lebito v'ksuba nosein hu lebito kilibno. When a man marries off his daughter, and he's not entering into the question what age she is, he wants to give her a dowry, what's called an adunya. but he's a little bit stingy in giving too much of it a dunya to his daughter. Because she is going to collect a ksuba from her husband. How does this takana solve that? I think I got it. Let's just go over the mechanics of it, then we'll take a break. A man is marrying off his daughter, and the Chachamim want to encourage him, the father, to give it a dunya, a nice size dowry, because that makes her more attractive on the market. So that's a good thing. The only thing is, he has a natural inclination to be very limited about the size and the value of the dunya, because by marrying her off, she gets rights to the ksuba. That's a hefty sum of money. So he feels he doesn't have to give her much of it a dunya. Since he knows that what? That in the dunya, he knows when let's say he marries off his daughter to Reuben, and he gives Reuben a hefty nedunya, he's really running a risk. Why? Because when he marries off his daughter to Reuben might marry a second wife. So the nedunya that he gave to his daughter is now going into the bank account of her husband, his son-in-law, and who's going to inherit that bank account?
Not just his daughter,
but children from a second marriage. So he's basically giving money for children from a different marriage. Why should he give that money to his daughter? But if he knows that her children, which are his grandchildren, will inherit the ksuba and the nedunya, then he's more likely to be very magnanimous about the nedunya. Why? Because even in an event that his daughter, will not collect the ksuba, but nevertheless, her children, which are his grandchildren, will collect the value of the ksuba from the husband, as opposed to the children from the second marriage. So the takana of ksubas ban and dichrin is going to encourage a father to give a very hefty, handsome nedunya to his daughter, so that she becomes more attractive on the market, on the terms, but that's what it means here. And the reason why he's not going to hesitate is because that money, even if it goes to his son-in-law, will be included in the ksuba in such a way that children that she has are guaranteed to inherit that money after his son-in-law dies. Whereas if not for this takana, then in event that he marries a second woman, the children of his second wife will divvy up the inheritance, the estate of his son-in-law, in an equal fashion. So the money that he gave her is really going to just be divvied up amongst not just his grandchildren, but somebody else's grandchildren. We'll take a break here. before we end the shir, let's do a chazara on the issue of Maser Lebas Levi. And it says the following, that first of all, we have a case of a Bas Yisrael. And Nifsala min HaKahuna, who Bas Levi min HaMas. So Bas Levi can no longer eat mas. So the Gemara asks Pshita, as far as being Nifsala min HaKahuna, that seems to be simple. She's a Zona. She had a relationship with another man while she was married. Why did the Tan have to tell me this din? This is not a takana d'Rabbanan. And the Gemara answers, that which a Bas Yisrael is disqualified from kahuna, that's not a chiddush. Ela b'Bas Levi min ha'maser itzur. The thrust of the chiddush of our Mishnah is the case of a Bas Levi who now, as a result of this knas, which Rabbanan imposed upon her because of her negligence, she can no longer eat mas. And that is a great chiddush that the Tana had to teach. And once the Tana already mentioned Bas Levi min ha'maser, then Agav Urcha mentions Bas Yisrael min ha'kahuna, min ha'truma. Even though, again, that's a dorais halachic because she's nibala be'ilas znus. So the Gemara says the following: Bas Levi min ha'maser be nifsala, she should be disqualified from eating maser. Why? Because of znus. Basanya, what do we do with the brisa? The brisa says Levia shenishbeis. She was taken into captivity, and with choshesh, maybe she had a beila with a goy. Oh, alternatively, a Bas Levi shenibala be'ilas nus. She had a beila with an akum, an eved, a cholol. That would passel a Bas Kohen to truma. No simul maser v'ocheles. Nevertheless, she can receive maser rishon and eat it. So we see explicitly that Bas Levi is not disqualified from maser as a result of bilas nus. And our answer is Omar Rav Sheshes Knosa. That surely on a doraisa level, the fact that she had a relationship with another man is not enough to passel her from maser. We just said that nivula bilas nus. No snilla mas. The answer is Rabbanan instituted a knas, and that's because, again, what she did was wrong. She got married based on the testimony of one witness, and in the end, we find out that her husband, is actually a liar. Now, knas is dafka Rabbi Meir asover shemaser rishon asel zorim. According to Rabbi Meir, kan konsu osa shetechashiv ke zara, and a zar, or in this case a zara, is enjoined from eating maaser rishon. According to Rabbi Meir, it means that Rabbi Meir recognizes that maaser rishon is endowed with sanctity. Aval rabbanan shemaaser rishon mutal zarim lo shaykh lo konsu osa sheyeh dina chamur mizara gemura. She can't be worse than a zar, and a zar, who's not related to Levia, is allowed to eat maser. Oh, shenomar shaknas hu gam aliv the Rabbanon. Even though the Rabbanon disagreed with Rabbi Meir, and according to the Rabbanon, maser rishon has no kedusha whatsoever; it's pure chul. Konsua le'inyan shein nosdim lo maser rishon. As we discussed last week, the knas was that no one should give her maser rishon. Lo aser oleh achilas maser machmas knas she'rei maser rishon mutal liz. Let's just make a note of where we get up to here. We're on achiv shel zeh, the achiv shel zeh cholzin v'lo miyavmid, which is see how many lines down is it from the top of Daf Tzadi Aleph? Maybe it's 12 lines down. Thank you very much and have a great day.